I was sent a list of questions for radical feminists. I assume radical in the sense of political, not the pejorative. Since I have the crazy stance that people should be treated equally, among other things not judging on gender differences, and if inequalities are apparent then attempts should be made to correct them, including social differences. I realize that I'm a guy. Ouch. And I'm answering a woman's questions for feminists. I'm not sure if that's ironic or poetic. Wow. Really? And you complain my jokes are bad? That one's gotta be, what, 20 years old? Anyway, here are her questions and my answers.
Number 1. How is being pro-choice or pro-abortion supporting equality for all, mother, father, and baby?
To start with, I doubt many people are pro-abortion. I'm never happy that abortions take place, but I see it as the lesser of two evils. The fact is, women should have a right to control their own bodies, and if they choose to terminate a pregnancy, they should have access to a clean and safe place to do so. If they don't want to carry a fetus, that should be their decision and nobody else's. Second, I'm not sure if you understand basic biology, but in general, it's the woman who carries the fetus during pregnancy. If, somehow, the father carried the fetus growing inside him, he should have the choice to carry it or not. And at that point, the fetus is not a baby, but little more than a clump of cells that would not be viable on its own. The mother should not be forced to carry it if she chooses not to.
Number 2. Do you really believe that American women are horribly oppressed when there are women out there that cannot vote, drive, file for divorce, etc.?
Wait a second. If that means that there is anybody out there worse than you have no reason to expect to better the situation you find yourself in? Cool. Now if an employee ever asks for a raise, I can just say, do you really believe you're not making enough when there are people working in sweatshops on the other side of the world? Seriously, I love the universal health care I receive, but there are issues I have with it. Wait times are the first that come to mind. Are you saying we can't work on improving our system if there are others out there who don't have health care at all? The subtext is admitting there are still inequalities between the genders, but they should be discounted because it's worse elsewhere. Yes, there are inadequacies all over the world, some much worse than here, but that doesn't mean we can't acknowledge the issues that do occur here.
Number 3. How do you hold yourself on such a pedestal for promoting, quote, equality for all women, unquote, but then bash women who do not agree with you?
This is interesting because many of the later questions give examples that the author is talking about, but this one only brings up the generic idea of women who do not agree. The only women I know of that get talked down by the feminist community are the ones that say that all women must act in a certain way, such as the late Phyllis Schlafly, who opposed equal rights and went around the country telling women they should stay at home. This philosophical stance pretty much goes against the idea of getting to choose how to live their lives, regardless of gender. If you want to live the stereotypical 1950s housewife lifestyle and your only goals are making sandwiches and finding a husband, good for you. More power to you, but other women are not obligated to do that just because it's all you want.
Number 4. Why do you consider government restrictions on abortion, quote, politicians being all up in your business, unquote, but are happy with politicians and the government dictating which health care you must have, what you must learn in school, i.e. Common Core, and taxing you left and right?
The difference is that the right to choose to have an abortion doesn't affect anybody but the woman who is having it. Your other examples affect society in general. I don't belong to a society where health insurance must be purchased. Here we get covered no matter what. But, as I understand the American ACA setup, the only way it's economically feasible is to have a large number of people in the insurance pool to spread out the costs across society, hence everybody needing insurance. A significant number of people were assisted with it by having a government mandate. As for schooling, is it wrong to think there should be at least some kind of basic minimum agreement of what should be taught so that every child can get an adequate education? As for taxes, I don't think anybody likes to pay them. I sure don't. But I understand they're needed to pay for the government to ensure we have a stable society.
Number 5. Why are you more concerned about fictional characters on fictional television shows getting fictionally raped than real men having their lives ruined by very false rape accusations? I'm looking at you, Rolling Stone.
This is 2 different points, so I'm going to break it down. To start, rape scenes in fiction do have an effect on the actions of the general public. Exposure in media has been shown to affect how others view and are accepting of rape. As for the Rolling Stone article, that was a complete lapse in journalistic integrity. The authors should have done more thorough research and confirmed their story before publishing. But they wanted a sensational story that would sell magazines. In this era of fake news, it's vital for the media to confirm their stories rather than just publish what they think will sell. In their defense, they retracted the story when they were shown to be wrong. However, it now presents a convenient go-to response to dismiss actual assaults on campuses that are occurring.
Number 6. Why have you let Lena Dunham become a spokesperson for your cause? A woman who is admitted to taking advantage of her younger sister sexually and doing, quote, anything a sexual predator might do, unquote.
I don't know who that is.
Here's the pulse, all right? And this is your finger. Far from the pulse, jammed straight up your ass.
But are you claiming that an entire group should be judged on a single member of that group? As an atheist, should I be judged on Stalin's actions because he was also an atheist? Or, as a white male, should I be judged on Stalin's actions because he was also a white male? Or, as someone who has facial hair, should I be judged on Stalin's actions because he was also rocking that mustache? You know, I'm starting to notice a pattern here. Fine. Or, since I was leader of Soviet Russia from the 1920s to the 1950s, should I... Hey! The point being, there is no reason to judge an entire group on the actions of one member of that group. For example, I'm not going to judge all Americans by who their leader is.
Number 7. Do you really think being able to walk around topless is a freedom that women need to live a good life?
Let me show you something. See this guy? One of the most frightening looking humans on the planet. Somehow, both reflectively pale and disgustingly hairy at the same time. For common courtesy, he should not leave the house on the off chance someone might see him. But, for all the repulsion he brings to the eyes of anybody who might glance at him, he still has the right to wander around topless. If one person, or one group of people have a right to do something, everybody should have that right.
Number 8. How do you make supporting the right to abortion a tenet of feminism when the majority of abortions performed worldwide are due to the child being female, i.e. gender-selective abortions?
This is an excellent example of where gender biases are harmful. The reason that gender-selective abortions occur is that one gender is given preference over another in a society. Getting rid of biases that make one gender more favored over another would reduce the number of gender-selective abortions.
Number 9. When you say, quote, teach men not to rape, unquote, are you meaning to imply that men have been in the past taught to rape, or that men are the only people capable of rape? Mary Kay Letourneau, anyone?
No, it's not saying that anyone's being taught to rape. In the same way, teaching kids to look both ways when crossing the street doesn't mean that previously they were taught to run into traffic. People do need to be taught proper behavior, but that doesn't mean they were taught the opposite in the past. I taught my son not to bully others, but that doesn't mean he was taught to do it in the past. The Letourneau case is another example where gender equality is needed and necessary. I remember that story came out. It was treated by many as a joke. What boy wouldn't want that? An adult in power took advantage of a child who was well under the age of consent. But it wasn't given the same amount of seriousness because of the gender of the parties involved. The majority of sexual assaults are caused by men, but yes, women can rape. I'm not denying that. When sexual contact occurs where there is an imbalance of power or the age of consent is not recognized, then we're talking about a rape, no matter the genders involved.
Number 10. Do you really think the original feminists, the women who fought for the right to vote, would be proud of you fighting for the right to bury your lady parts, abort your children, and shame men into submission like you claim they would?
I don't claim to be able to read the minds of those from the past, but I would think they would be pleased that these days what they fought for, the ability to have their political voices heard, has now become so commonplace that it's no longer even an issue, and it showed that change is possible. I also think that they would understand that now, after political and legal equality, social equality is also something to strive for.